Welcome. Today, I'm excited to show you how I built an AI-powered version of the Revenge Realm story style YouTube channel. That channel you see posting 3 to 4 new videos every single day, earning around $4,000 a month, all from AI-generated content. What's even cooler, we're going to automate this entire process using AI agents. No coding required. From generating the script to creating eye-catching thumbnails, rendering videos, uploading them to YouTube, and even updating thumbnails after publishing, everything runs on autopilot. Thanks to YouTube's new algorithm, channels that publish consistently and frequently can easily grow and monetize their content. If you're ready to dive in and don't want to miss out on the fastest and easiest way to create faceless YouTube videos that actually make money, this is it.
The text from my sister Kate arrived while I was in the middle of a confidential board meeting.
We're basically building a money printing machine by cloning successful channels and scaling them effortlessly. Unlike other tutorials that only cover part of the process, here you'll get a complete production pipeline, including thumbnail generation that normally takes hours, SEO optimized metadata like titles, descriptions, tags, and hashtags, and fully automated publishing schedules. You can set this to run every hour, daily, or whatever fits your strategy, all powered by creative AI prompts without lifting a finger. And here is a final video output from the workflow, complete with a high-scoring title generated using YouTube AI tools like vidIQ for maximum SEO and engagement, a professionally styled thumbnail, and a realistic voiceover with the perfect vibe.
I remember the day they laughed the loudest. I was just a kid, standing in the living room clutching my first sketch pad.
And the best part? You don't need to do a single extra thing. Pretty awesome, right? Everything is handled from start to finish. Imagine waking up to a freshly published, engaging YouTube video with voiceover, subtitles, background visuals, a thumbnail, and all the metadata perfectly optimized, all while you sleep. Before we jump in, if you're new here, we have a free community dedicated to making AI easy to learn and earn. Plus, we recently launched a premium membership that gives you unlimited access to powerful AI tools, including GPT 4.1, DeepSeek, and other advanced models. You'll also get access to realistic, expressive text-to-speech voices, Whisper for speech-to-text, and Vision APIs. We've developed custom APIs as well, like a thumbnail generator and video creation tools specifically designed for faceless content production, as used in projects like Revenge Realm. This is just our first business template, designed to help you launch your own faceless YouTube channel on autopilot at scale. We'll be releasing more templates to clone other successful channels soon. Premium members also enjoy private lessons, access to exclusive workflows, and unlimited usage of all our top-tier features. So if you're interested, join now to lock in your price before it goes up. All right, enough talking. Let's dive into n8n and start building a new production-ready workflow from scratch. Let's take a quick look at the final workflow. The process is straightforward and split into 2 main tasks. First, generating the video, and second, uploading it to YouTube. To create videos like those on the Revenge Realm channel, we need a few key ingredients: a background video, a story script to generate the voiceover audio, captions that sync perfectly with the audio, and finally, merging all of this to render the final video. Now, let's start with the very first step, downloading the background video. We begin by setting up a schedule trigger node in n8n to kick off the workflow. This can be configured to run hourly, daily, or at any frequency that suits your content strategy. Next, we pull the background video URLs from a Google Sheet. We use the get rows operation inside the Google Sheets node. Then make sure to connect your own Google credentials. This allows n8n to access your files securely. Once your credentials are connected, you'll be able to load a list of all your documents from your Google account right here in the dropdown. From there, just select the specific sheet you want to use. For this tutorial, we've already prepared a public Google Sheet that's ready to go, filled with background video URLs you can use right away. You can easily create your own by copying and pasting URLs into your sheet. After selecting the right credentials and pointing to the correct sheet, we run a test to make sure it's fetching all our video URLs correctly. Alright, since we only want one background video per video generation, we're going to use a function node to grab a random video URL from the list. Let's head over to the Faceless on Autopilot lesson and copy the code for this node. It's already written and ready to go. Once you've added the code, go ahead and run a test, and boom, we've got a random background video selected. Each time the workflow runs, it will automatically pick a different one. Pretty slick, right? Now we'll drop in a wait node just to make sure each step completes fully before moving on. This helps keep things clean and stable as your workflow runs. And with that, step 1 is done. We've successfully picked a background video for this generation. Even better, you can keep growing your video library by simply adding more URLs to the sheet. It's unlimited. Now, let's copy and paste this sticky note from the final workflow. We want our workflow to be clean, clear, and human readable as we build. It helps us and anyone revisiting the workflow later instantly understand what each part does. Let's keep things organized and easy to follow from the very beginning. Okay, now let's move on to step 2, generating the transcript story. To do this, we'll use an AI text generator node. And in most cases, we recommend using an AI agent node with a composed block, where you can fill in both the user and system prompts and plug in your preferred LLM. That LLM could be DeepSeek, OpenAI chat models, or any other model you're connected to. But for this workflow, we're going to access GPT-4 model through the n8n launch API. Instead of using the standard AI agent node, we'll call this API directly using an HTTP request node. But before that, let's first drag in an edit field node. This helps us format and define both the user and system prompts cleanly before passing them into the HTTP call. Let's start with the system prompt. Go ahead and copy it from the community lesson. This prompt tells the AI to write in the emotionally intense, reflective style of Revenge Realm. It defines the story structure, beginning with betrayal or rejection, moving through personal growth, and ending with a powerful return or confrontation. It keeps the tone serious, motivational, and deeply human. Next, we add the user prompt, which gives the AI the specific story to write. Both prompts are now structured and stored cleanly in the edit field node. Once that's done, we connect this node to a new HTTP request node, which will handle the API call to n8n launch. Now let's head over to the n8n launch API documentation. There, you'll find a curl command template. Copy that and paste it into your HTTP request node. This gives you the full structure for calling the text generation endpoint. Then, simply insert your member access key, which you'll receive when you become a n8n launch premium member. Inside the JSON body, we'll use dynamic expressions to plug in the system and user prompts from the edit field node. You can grab this expression from the community lesson as well. Now, it's time to run a test. You'll see the edit field node outputs a JSON object containing both prompts, which are then passed into the HTTP request. In this setup, we're using OpenAI as the model, which means we're generating content using GPT 4.1 Mini. You can check out the full list of supported models via our GitHub link. Go ahead and hit test step. And there it is. The AI responds with a complete, emotionally gripping story written in the first person and ready to be turned into voiceover. But before we move on to that, let's take a moment to clean up the response a bit. Right now, the text is returned under the text key, but to keep things consistent with other parts of our workflow, especially if you're using the AI agent node in other templates, we'll convert that to an output key instead. To do that, we'll add a function node. Inside, we'll paste a quick snippet from the community lesson. Nothing complex here, just a clean mapping from text to output. Once that's set, go ahead and hit Test If again. Looks good. Now, let's finish up step 2 by adding a wait node right after, just to make sure each part of the workflow has time to complete before continuing. This is especially useful when chaining multiple API requests. Okay, before we move on to step 3, let's tidy up our current workflow a bit. We want everything to be easy to read, maintain, and extend later. So let's take a moment to rename the nodes and add sticky notes, just like we saw in the final version. This helps keep everything organized and crystal clear as your automation grows. Alright, now that we've got our transcript cleaned, it's time for step 3, generating YouTube metadata. This step is quite similar to what we did in step 2. So to speed things up, we'll simply copy and paste the nodes from step 2. We're still using the n8n launch API with text generation, but this time we're using it to generate YouTube metadata, including the title, video description, tags, and even the thumbnail texts, all based on the story we just created. We'll start by updating the system prompt and user prompt, which you can grab from the community lesson. The key idea here is that the user prompt will now take the transcript response from the previous node. This gives the LLM full context of the video content, allowing it to generate metadata that's not just relevant, but also optimized for SEO performance and viewer engagement. Now, let's connect the previous step to a new edit field node and hit Execute Previous Node to bring in the story transcript. Once we have both prompts in place, we open the HTTP request node. This will send the request to the same n8n launch endpoint we used earlier, but this time it's for metadata generation. First, let's rename the HTTP request node to something clear and meaningful. Then we update the expression in the request body so that it pulls the prompts from the new edit field node. One important note here, because the transcript can be long, using the OpenAI mini model may not be able to handle the full token length. So we'll switch the model field to OpenAI large, which can process more tokens in a single request without issue. Alright, now hit Test Step. And perfect. The response includes all the fields we need: the title, a well-written description, the tags, and even top and bottom text that we'll use later for generating our video thumbnail. But here's the thing. This response comes back as a single string, so we can't directly extract fields like title or description unless we parse it first. That's where the next function node comes in. We'll paste in the parsing code from the community lesson, which splits the string into a proper JSON structure, making each field easily accessible for future steps. Hit Test Step again. And now we have clean, structured data, perfect for use in the next nodes. You'll also notice the top_text and bottom_text values. These are designed specifically for our thumbnail generation API, giving us emotionally charged copy that boosts click-through rate. Lastly, let's take a moment to rename this function node to something more meaningful, so our workflow stays readable and maintainable. Next, we move on to step 4, where we generate the audio from our transcript story and begin combining all of our resources to render the final video. Just like before, we'll use an HTTP request node, this time to call the text-to-speech API from n8n launch. Of course, you're free to use any text-to-speech service you prefer, whether it's ChatGPT, Voice, 11 Labs, or something else entirely. But for this example, we'll stick with n8n launch for a streamlined integrated workflow. We start by visiting the n8n launch API docs and grabbing the example curl command for the text-to-speech endpoint. Once copied, we paste it into our HTTP request node and begin customizing. First, make sure to enter your XAPI key, then connect the previous node, the one containing our transcript, directly to this request node. Next, let's set up the JSON body. We execute the previous node to pull in the transcript data, then drag the output value from the transcript into the text field of the request body. That tells the API exactly what to convert into audio. Now for the voice. For this type of story, emotional, dramatic, and reflective, we're going to use the Sage voice, which offers a smooth and expressive delivery. But feel free to experiment with other voices like Nova, Onyx, or Echo, depending on the tone of your content. To avoid any timeout issues with longer stories, we'll also update the request settings and set the timeout limit to around 5 minutes, just to be safe. Once everything is set, hit Test Step, and there it is. The API returns an audio URL pointing to the generated voiceover. This file is stored on the server and will remain available for about 30 minutes, giving us enough time to download and use it. Let's click on the link and check the audio. If everything sounds good, we're ready to move on to the next step.
I remember the cold sting of their words, like it was yesterday. "You're wasting your time," my father sneered, voice dripping with contempt. "A painter? Are you serious? That's a joke. You'll be broke and embarrassed before you even start." My mother shook her.
The voice of the audio is awesome, right? It's got the perfect vibe, clean delivery, natural tone, and it fits our story content beautifully. Now that we've generated the voiceover, let's keep the flow clean by adding a wait node right after the audio generation step. This helps give the system a moment to breathe before we move into the next major step, rendering the final video. To do that, we add a new HTTP request node, which we'll call the AI Video Generator API from 0 to launch. As usual, we go to the API docs and copy the CURL template for the video rendering endpoint. This API will take the background video and the generated audio from previous steps and combine them into a single polished final video. Let's begin by adding our XAPI key, just like before. Then we run the workflow up to this point to retrieve the background video URL and the audio file, both of which are needed for this request. To make testing faster, let's also go back to the transcript generator and temporarily update the prompt to generate a shorter story around 50 words. That way, we speed up the process while still confirming everything works. Now, back in the Video API request node, we execute previous steps, then drag in the background video URL and the audio URL into the body parameters of the request. If everything is correct, we should see a preview of the content from those URLs. Alright, don't forget to rename this node to something meaningful, like Generate Speech URL and Render Final Video, so it's clear what it does. Before hitting test, we also need to fill in the template field. Since we're working with the Revenge Realm style, just type in temp_1, which corresponds to the Revenge Realm style defined in our backend API. Alright, now let's run the workflow. Perfect. The API responds immediately with a job ID and a status of processing. This means the render request has been received and is now being handled in the background by our server. The job ID is the unique identifier for this rendering task, and we'll use it to check the progress. To do that, we add a function node to initialize the polling process. This sets our starting state with the job_ID and an attempt counter at 0. Let's rename this node to something meaningful, like init polling state. Next, we add a new HTTP request node to check the status of the video rendering. Again, we copy and paste the status check CURL template from the 0 to launch docs. Import it in, add our API key, then pass the job ID from the render node to the API endpoint. All right, go ahead and run the test. You'll see that the status comes back as pending, which is expected since the video is still being processed. All right, let's rename this node to something clear, like check video status. Now we add an if node that looks at the status value from the check node and determines if the job is done. Let's also rename this node. If the status equals done, the true branch is triggered, and in this case, we'll receive a final video URL we can use to upload the video to YouTube. But if the status is still pending, the false branch is triggered. In this branch, we add a wait node to pause for 60 seconds before checking again. We also drop in another function node that increments the attempt count by 1. This helps us track how many times we've polled and ensures we don't loop forever. Let's rename this node to increment attempt and connect it back to the check video status node to continue the loop. This setup will keep checking every 60 seconds until the video is ready. All right, let's run it again and check the current status. The response now says done, and we've got the video URL in hand. That means the if node now follows the true branch, and we're ready to upload the video to YouTube. All right, let's open the video URL and check it.
They mocked my dreams, called me foolish, said I'd embarrass us all. I left, poured my soul into my...
Awesome. It's exactly the style we're aiming for, just like a video from the Revenge Realm channel. Now to upload this video, we need to first download the file from the video URL. For that, we add an HTTP request node called download video file. Set the method to get and pass the video URL into the URL field. Under options, we specify the response format as file, so the node knows to treat the output as video file data. Hit test step, and just like that, we've got the video file downloaded and ready for upload. Next, we add a YouTube node. Set the action to upload video and connect your Google Auth credentials. In the nodes fields, we drag in the metadata we generated earlier, the title, description, tags, and more. Set your region code, select a video category. For the video description, we'll include both the metadata details and relevant hashtags. All right. We also include metadata tags in the tags field parameter to improve SEO. And be sure to specify that this is not made for kids. Hit test step again, and boom, we've successfully uploaded our video. The API gives us an upload ID, and we can now find the video inside our YouTube Studio dashboard. If you check the URL, you'll see it matches the upload ID from the workflow response. The title, description, and hashtags all look great. And if you're using a tool like vidIQ, you'll notice the title score is super high. In our test, we even got a 91 SEO score, which is amazing for reach and engagement. Right now, the thumbnail might still be black. That's because the upload is still processing. In just a bit, YouTube will automatically generate a default thumbnail by taking a screenshot from somewhere in the video. But we don't want that. Instead, we want to use a custom, high-converting thumbnail, just like the ones you see on the Revenge Realm channel. So, let's head back to our workflow and set up the next step, generating a custom video thumbnail and automatically updating it on the uploaded video. So let's continue by building a custom thumbnail, one that stands out, grabs attention, and matches the dramatic tone of our video. To do this, we add a wait node right after the YouTube upload step. This gives YouTube a little time to finish processing the video before we update anything else. Once that's in place, we add a new HTTP request node to generate our thumbnail using the n8n launch thumbnail generator API. As usual, we start by going to the API docs, copying the thumbnail generation CRL template, and pasting it into the request node. Then we enter our XAPI key just like before. In the body parameters, we're going to fill out the values for the top underscore text and bottom underscore text parameters, which we'll grab directly from the YouTube metadata node. These text elements were crafted specifically for thumbnail use, bold, emotionally intense, and designed to draw attention. They'll appear on the top and bottom of the thumbnail image to perfectly match the theme and story of our video. Now for the avatar URL, we'll need to generate a female character to place on the right side of the thumbnail image, just like you see in Revenge Realm style thumbnails. To do that, let's go ahead and generate this image using the text-to-image API. First, take a moment to rename the current thumbnail generation node so everything stays clean and organized. Then, right before this node, we add a new HTTP request node and call it Generate Thumbnail Avatar. As usual, we head to the n8n launch API docs, grab the CRL template for the text-to-image endpoint, and paste it into the node. Be sure to select the API endpoint that returns a direct image URL so we can pass it straight into the thumbnail generator node that comes next. Next, we fill in the XAPI key and add the prompt from the community lesson. Then, we configure the image dimensions. We want the avatar height to match the full thumbnail height and the width to be about 1/3 of the thumbnail. This keeps the composition balanced and visually pleasing. Let's go ahead and update the size. We won't use a seed here, as the backend will randomly generate one to ensure each image is creatively styled in a unique way. If everything is working correctly, the response will include a field called ImageServe URL. This is the URL of the generated avatar. Once we have it, we use that ImageServe URL for the avatar URL field of our thumbnail generation node. This completes the visual setup for our custom thumbnail. Now, let's hit Test Step to generate the avatar. Awesome. We got a URL named image_serve_URL. And it returned a beautiful female portrait just as we described in the prompt. It's clean, high quality, and visually fits the tone of our story perfectly. With the avatar ready, we can now head back to the Generate Thumbnail node and run it without any issues. Everything's connected. The avatar, the text, the template, so we're ready to go. Before running the thumbnail generation step, don't forget to set the template value. We'll use temp_1, since this is our Revenge Realm template. Alright, now hit Test Step. And just like that, we get a beautiful AI-generated thumbnail, with bold text, strong composition, and a character that brings the story to life. Now we're going to use this custom thumbnail for the latest uploaded video. To do that, we'll utilize the video ID we received from the YouTube upload node earlier. This ID is essential. It acts as the reference point for updating the correct video on your channel. So let's go ahead and add a new HTTP request node, and we'll name it Update Video Thumbnail. This will be a POST request, and for the URL endpoint, we simply follow the structure provided in the community lesson. It connects directly to the YouTube API endpoint for thumbnail updates. Next, we move to the authentication settings. Since this action involves modifying data in your YouTube account, it requires OAuth 2 authentication. So under the authentication dropdown, we select OAuth 2 and then set up a new Google credential. For this credential, just copy and paste the field values from the lesson, including the authorization URL, access token URL, and scope. But make sure to use your own Google Client ID and client secret for this project. Once that's all filled in, click Connect My Account and sign in with the Gmail account you're using for this channel. This allows n8n to securely access and update your YouTube video metadata and thumbnails. Once authenticated, go ahead and give this credential a name so it's easy to identify later. Now back in the Update Video Thumbnail node, we enable query parameters and pass in the video ID, which we can drag directly from the YouTube Upload node. This tells the API which video we want to update. Next, we enable the request body and select the binary file option to upload our new thumbnail image. The file we'll use is the one returned from the thumbnail generation node, and we specify the name of the file input field as media, which is what the API expects. And just like that, we're all set up to replace the default YouTube thumbnail with a custom AI-generated one. All right, let's go ahead and hit Test Step to see how this thumbnail update works. The request returns a successful response, which means we've successfully updated the video thumbnail. Let's jump over to our YouTube studio and check that. Awesome. We now see our custom thumbnail live on the video, complete with bold text and a powerful visual that perfectly matches the story. Everything from the YouTube metadata to the thumbnail and even the full video generation was done automatically, without writing a single line of code or touching any editing software. Let's hit play and check out the final result.
They mocked my dreams, called me foolish, said I'd embarrass us all.
The video looks great, the audio is smooth, the captions are on point, and the thumbnail absolutely pops. This is a fully automated, production-ready faceless YouTube channel, built with AI powered by n8n. Finally, let's clean up the workflow a bit to make it easier to read, maintain, and scale later. Organize them into logical sections and add sticky notes where needed. Now that our workflow is complete, let's also go back to the transcript generator node and update the user prompt to create a longer story, maybe 500 to 800 words. This will give us a longer video with deeper storytelling, more emotion, and a stronger viewer connection. All right, it's time for the big moment. Let's run the final test workflow from scratch, from triggering the background video selection all the way to publishing a complete YouTube video with a custom thumbnail and full metadata. After a few minutes, we should see a longer video appear right on our YouTube channel. And once again, everything from the video content to the SEO optimized metadata to the visually powerful thumbnail is handled completely on autopilot. This isn't just automation, this is a fully functional AI-powered content machine. Now you're ready to replicate the Revenge Realm system, scale it, and even adapt it to new niches and channel templates in the future.
I remember the whispers, the sneers, the way my own family mocked my dreams as if they were some kind of joke. A painter? Really? Isn't that just the...
If you found this tutorial valuable, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another automation breakdown like this. We're just getting started. And if you're ready to build your own faceless YouTube empire, with full access to all the power prompts, premium APIs, thumbnail and video generators, and real-time support, then this is your moment to join the 02 Launch Premium community. We're about to release more channel templates that clone-proven, high-performing YouTube businesses, and once those drop, the price will go up. So lock in your access now, join the movement, and start launching with AI like a pro. I'll see you inside the community.